In this episode, once again, we speak to the amazing Magda Kay. Magda is an intimacy expert, a tantra teacher, and a conscious relation coach. She's an author and a founder of the School of Intimacy. Magda's expertise bridges between intimacy and entrepreneurship, setting her apart from standard business experts. Her innovative business strategies will teach you the creative visualization and the energy of sexual desire to boost your business goals. And today we're speaking to Magda about how your intimacy or lack of has an impact or impacts your business and your life. Let's find out. Welcome, welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And today, once again, we have the amazing, we have the beautiful, we have the wonderful Magda Kay. Welcome, Magda.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you so much for joining us again, Magda. Magda, we had such a fantastic and interesting conversation on Friday Feature. We had to have you back on Money Talkies. But again, once again, everyone's heard your intro. They know how wonderful you are. But please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
So I am an intimacy expert, which basically means that I help people feel more alive in their lives. That, of course, means having better quality relationships, because unfortunately, very often when we are in a romantic relationship, we don't actually feel alive. These relationships usually drain us instead of adding life to us. So I help people shift that, but also just to feel really fulfilled and happy, regardless of your relationship status.
Wonderful, wonderful. So today, Magda, we're talking about how your intimacy or lack of is impacting your business slash life. Now, let's understand this question. Why have we been talking about it? I thought, well, I know, not myself personally, but most people assume the idea that, well, intimacy is only just for the bedroom, it's only for the home. How can it possibly have any kind of impact on other areas of my life? So do you want to explain why it's so important?
Totally. And I love that you started with this. So I want to share with you a metaphor that I use very often to illustrate what actually like intimacy and sexuality truly is. So we think of sexuality, and by the way, I use the word sexuality and not sex very intentionally because I'm talking about something bigger that includes intimacy in it as well. So we think of sexuality as this one room in the house. So
Yeah.
imagine you have a house with many rooms. There's one room that you sometimes visit, but you spend most of your time in the living room, right? Or
Mm.
in the kitchen. Instead, what sexuality truly is the floor, meaning it's the foundation of the whole house. But it requires us to broaden the definition of sexuality. And
Mm.
again, this is why I don't just say sex, I don't just mean penetration, I mean sexuality, because you can be celibate and still be very sexual. It
Mm.
all comes down to awakening our sexual energy, which is our life force energy. And I'm pretty sure anyone can relate that when you're in love, when you fall for someone, or when you're intimate with someone that you really like, when you're having sex, these are the moments when you feel most alive. Why? Because that energy is open and it's moving through your body. That energy is literally what creates life and what gives us life. So yes, it's the foundation of everything.
I love that. I love that. And I completely agree with that too. I think it's ignored by a lot of people. Now, you've mentioned something in here, and I want to touch upon that before we go and answer this question. You've said you can be celibate and still be very sexual. Explain that to people. What do you mean by that?
So when I say celibate, basically what this means is that we are not engaging in penetrative sex. And for some people, that may be anything also including oral sex or any form of masturbation.
Mm.
So how can you be sexual? Well, it's because when we think of sexuality, let's say we make it sexual, but I
Mm.
kind of want to like desexualize sexuality. So sexuality essentially is about feeling alive and about merging into one. If you think of
Mhm.
what sex is with your partner, it's merging into one.
Mhm.
So, and this is what I, for example, love about tantra, which is this is my background. That's where I come from. So, if you look at it, sex is present everywhere. In the morning, when the night becomes a day, there is this moment where these two come into oneness, right? So, the
Mm.
sunrise and the sunset, it is really sex. It is
Mm.
lovemaking.
Mm.
When you eat food, you merge with what you're eating. this is another form of lovemaking.
Mm.
So it's about that state, but you have to be really aware and very present to actually register this and feel that. So what do I mean that you can be celibate and very sexual? It means that you're not suppressing your sexuality. You're not suppressing your desire and passion. You simply use it for other parts of your life. You're not using it for the bedroom, but the energy is still there. And so this is how, yes, you can be very sexual. The energy can be moving through the body a lot, even though you're not using it specifically for sex.
Um, I think that's a great explanation, and I'm just going to add a little bit to it. So in my workshops, I talk about how being sexy helps you to become a millionaire. And I just touch upon it in a very small regard because I'm not an expert in any regard when it comes to intimacy at all, but I know the benefit of it. So we touch upon this in the workshop. And I talk about how you need to hold sexual energy. Somebody who holds sexual energy within the body, and they can be celibate, they can be single. We're not here to judge anybody. So, you know, I being Muslim, I don't believe in premarital sex. So anything outside of the institute of marriage is wrong for me personally. But anybody else is obviously entitled to their own opinion. But that doesn't negate the fact that you can still hold sexual energy within your body, and you can feel sexy, you can feel attractive, you can feel, and the more sexy you feel for yourself, and that doesn't mean you reveal clothes. You can be wearing the full, you know, hijab and everything else, still feel sexy. And I know for a fact there's a woman, share her name, one of my closest cousins, she wears a full hijab. Most of my family wears a hijab, by the way. And she is, I would say she's incredibly sexy. Obviously, her sexuality is kept for herself and her husband, so she's covered up. But within her body, how she carries herself, how she holds herself, and how she speaks, she's incredibly attractive, incredibly sexy. And I can feel it from a, you know, even though I'm straight, I'm not, you know, homosexual. I can see that, and I can appreciate it. And then she's not the conventional skinny, you know, whatever. She's quite voluptuous and a woman, but every aspect of herself, because she's so confident in herself and she holds that energy, she's fully covered up with, you know, from head to toe, but she still is very sexual. And this is an example I use in my workshops a lot, because you don't have to reveal skin to be sexy. You just have to hold the sexual energy, and that can be done by, you know, and many people, and you can train yourself to do that. At the same time, there are women who are wearing next to nothing and don't feel sexy because,
Exactly.
and so
Yeah.
it's a personal thing. So just wanted to highlight that and why that is so important. I'm so glad you're talking about it, and you're more of an expert to talk about it than I am. I just
No,
have
no,
very limited
but it's
knowledge.
everything you're saying is correct, and I agree, and I love that you brought it up. And I'll add, you know, because you said it exactly, like some women, like they have makeup and, you know, very sexy dresses, and there's nothing sexual about them. And I'll tell you, it's the same for men. I used to go to this CrossFit gym in Bali where every man looked like a Greek god, and most of those men like zero sexual energy, just zero. And I'm like, you look incredible, and there is zero sexual attraction. Like there's just no energy, nothing. They felt very flat. And so, and it's also like you said, it's like it's really doesn't matter how you look. It's like when the energy is turned on, you become attractive, you become sexy. Absolutely.
And we've seen that as well. We've seen, you know, the media paints a different picture, and it's always a different depending on which era you're going through. They, you know, remember the Kim Kardashian with the big bum, big boobs, you know, era, and then now it's back to being the slim, and you know, it's we go in cycles. So the media has a different, you know, love affair with whatever body shape. So if we put that to one side, but just general, we've seen those women who are incredibly slim, like Nicole Kidman. She's 57. I recently saw a movie of hers, I think Family Affair.
I
And
watched this too. Yeah.
and I just watched it for Nicole Kidman because I think she's an amazing actor. At 57, she held, I mean, she was very slim, and that's not what I normally find attractive. As a woman, I think you need to have more curves, but she looked incredibly sexy because she held that energy. And I just, when you're talking about it, I just remembered her. And she's 57. And then
Yes.
there are other women who are you know, who are similar age, and I can't think of an example. I wish I could. I can't think of an example at the moment, but they could be 50, 60, 70, and they're, oh, I used to have a client. I still have a client. So one of my clients, she's 73. Oh my God, she's 73. and she's the most wonderful, beautiful, sexy woman you will ever come across. There's no way that, you know, if guys see her, they won't find her attractive. She just is so attractive. And it's got nothing to do with age. So these two examples completely throw out the thing that, oh, you need to be 20 something or a teenager to be sexy as a female. These are 50 something and 67, she was 73, incredibly attractive. So it's what comes from inside, and it's the energy you hold. Hence the reason why this is so important, that you need to focus on it. This is an energy that you can cultivate. It's not something that you are given. You have to work on this energy, and you have to develop it and understand it, and also develop the intimacy with yourself as well as your partner if you are in a relationship. So let's go and ask the question now. So tell us, Magda, how is your intimacy or lack thereof impacting someone's business?
So really what intimacy is, it's like fuel for everything. Or you could think of it, this is the spices for your cooking. If this is not there, everything is kind of just like, meh. It's like you end up doing all of these things, but there's no excitement, no joy. Like life needs pleasure. It's not about being hedonistic and just thinking of pleasure, but it's being able to connect to that feeling, like just feeling alive and enjoying this. When you enjoy something, we all know it. You don't need motivation. You don't need to be told. You just do things because they feel good. So just think for a moment, how much do you normally do? How productive you are, how creative you are when you're having fun, when you feel alive, when something feels good to you. And what it's like when you wake up and you're like, gosh, I have to do all of these things, and you're just dreading every single task. So intimacy, what allows you to feel alive and connected to everything. It also allows you to be connected to a bigger purpose. It's we do in tantra. We also spoke about it before we got on the call. In tantra, we have these practices called sex magic, and essentially what it is that you're channeling your sexual energy. Basically, you use it as a fuel for your goals. So again, if you think of like what it's like when you sexually desire someone, like you're just basically going to do anything to have this person, and it doesn't feel at all like hard work. Imagine having that energy also support you with your business goals. So it's like you're opening yourself to, like, this is kind of the ultimate hack for your business, I would say, and it's like there's like no downsides to having your energy activated. Now, again, I'm not talking about becoming addicted to sex and sleeping around. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking just about this energy being awakened. It's very healthy for us. It's really good for us. There are no downsides. There are only benefits.
Wonderful. And I was thinking about this, that you're absolutely right. When we open up allow ourselves to feel intimate with a partner. Sometimes people are in relationships and they still lack of intimacy. But when we give ourselves permission, when we allow ourselves to feel intimate with our partners, or even with ourselves when we're by ourselves, we don't have to be in doing masturbation. We don't have to be in a sexual relationship. We can just hold that sexual relationship with ourselves in terms of feeling attractive, feeling beautiful, feeling leaning into that kind of that I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, I'm attractive energy. You automatically open up different opportunities to yourself because you're in the state of flow. When you are neglecting all of this part of you, you are neglecting an essential part, which everything becomes cumbersome, everything becomes hard work. And what you just said reminded me of that. If you fail to have intimacy, if you fail to have fun, when we get to the point where people no longer know how to have fun. And you say, well, what do you want to do for fun? Well, I don't know, watch a movie. That's not really intimate, and that's not fun. That's just being passive, which is
that's killing time, really.
It's literally killing time. But most people's idea is that, and different things can make you feel alive, make you feel attractive. I remember years ago when I started when I was dancing, and one of my favorite dance forms is Indian classical Kathak. Which I'm trying to pick up again, by the way. But I find that to be the most sexy dance form on the planet. It doesn't have much hip movements by all standards. It's not sexy. It's not like tango or whatever, but it's the expression with the face and the hands. But that's attractive for me. So it's very subjective. This idea of sexiness and attractiveness and intimacy is a very subjective thing. What you find intimate, I may not, and vice versa. And we should be okay with that. But we need to figure out what we find it gives us intimacy, what makes us closer to someone or ourselves. And that definition can be different. How do you work on that? How do we come from a space where a lot of people listening to this episode would normally come from corporate background. So we're used to just study, do this, and then you're in a 9 to 5, and intimacy goes out the window. You maybe when you're during courtship, when you're getting to know your partner or early marriage, but then once kids come into the picture, intimacy goes out the window, and so does normally the sex life, and relationships fall apart. How many times have you heard the idea that we just stop being attracted to each other? The marriage is falling apart. How do we work on this? How do we build this up again?
So it really comes down to what actually you said. I have to first cultivate that intimacy with myself. And I need to feel sexy first. And so, for example, for women, because I think it's something that we struggle with more. It's like, oh my God, I put on some weight, and now it's like, oh, I don't feel sexy, don't feel attractive. Very often it's not really about your body changing, but the moment you start taking care of your body, the moment you start doing things for your body, just that makes you feel much better. So let's say I, for example, don't wear makeup. I don't like it, but for many women, just putting some makeup, getting your hair done, nothing really changed. You didn't lose any weight, but I'm taking care of myself. I look good. For me, if I want to shift my energy, I just want to dress up. And again, dress up according to me. I don't wear like short skirts or dresses. I just find it very uncomfortable. I wear flats. I don't wear any heels. Again, I don't wear makeup, but I'm going to put one of my favorite long dresses. I also try to, as much as possible, not to wear underwear, which makes me feel a little naughty. So that's like my little hack, but it's just like I put the thing so I feel sexy. And the crazy thing is that anytime I do it, I get so much attention. When I don't do things that make me feel attractive, I'm like invisible. But when I do something that makes me feel attractive, I am seen. And again, it's not like objectively I look amazing, trust me. But I feel differently, and so I project a different energy. So when we feel good with ourselves, when I think that I am attractive and sexual, naturally I'm going to be more confident. I'm going to make more like moves on my partner. So this is something that both partners need to take care of. And this is not a nice to have, it's a freaking must. And I often hear from clients like, oh, but I'm very busy, this and this. I'm like, look, I get that. But would you be so successful in business if you in the morning were like, yeah, I don't really have time for work, I'm going to do something else? This is about your priorities. Like, you have to give in something, you have to invest. Without investing some time and energy, well, nothing is going to change. So this comes down to our priorities. Like, you have to be willing to do what it takes. Like with your dance, right? Great. But in order to know this dance, you have to study, and it's a difficult dance, right? So it's not just going to magically happen. So people also need to change the mindset that like, oh, a relationship should just happen. Intimacy should just happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen. You cultivate it and you create it. But that's step number one. And I honestly feel like men are less impacted by whether they feel sexy or attractive. Women are more impacted by this. So it's way more important for women to make time for self-care. And if that means going for massages, you go for a massage. And I'll say this. Okay, so when we have a couple that has a lot of, let's say, money, and maybe you don't have kids or you don't have a lot of responsibilities, and you're like, sure, I can go for a massage, not a problem. But many people are in a different situation where maybe a massage or going to a spa is expensive, and you have to cook dinner or take care of the house or the kids. There are things to do, right? So you're like, yeah, it's a nice idea, but it's just not practical. If that's your case, you speak to your partner and you explain that this is what I need. Like, if you want a wife or a partner who's still your lover and not just like a cleaning lady or a housemaid, I need this. So it's not, this is like a mind shift we have to really cultivate as well. a woman taking care of herself is not selfish. This is for the relationship. Because when a woman is stressed and shut down, everyone feels that. The husband, the kids, the whole house feels it. So for a woman to make sure she cultivates that sexual energy to be in some way awakened in her, that's in the interest of the whole family. So the whole family needs to find a way so that she can do it. Like if that means that, you know, you're like the husband is taking care of the kids or cooking today, then he is. If it means that he has to give you money for the massage, then he does, because essentially he's doing this for himself as well. And this is, I think, difficult for couples sometimes to grasp, because it's like me against him or me against her. You're a team. A woman being connected to her sexuality is something essential for that relationship. It's not just for her, it's for everyone. It's really important that we start kind of looking at it from this perspective.
I'm going to throw something in the mix here. What about those women who, and I can relate to this, and a lot of women can, you put yourself as well, but who are a lot of the time in their masculine energy because they are in the do stage, right? They're running businesses, they're running errands, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're managing people. And if you are an entrepreneur, you will have employees, you know, men and women alike, and you're managing all these different things. How do you step away from that masculine energy, go into your feminine energy? Because in order for you to be sexual, man has to go into masculine energy, and female needs to go into feminine energy. You can't be in, you know, man can't, I don't think men can be in the feminine energy and be sexual, my personal opinion. And vice versa. I think females especially need to be in the feminine energy to open up, to receive, and to become, explore the intimacy. How does one switch off, and how does one get into that energy?
So there are two paths. One is that we drop into this energy through relaxation. And that's the difficult path, because if you're used to like doing and being stressed, suddenly if I ask you to just relax, you're going to be uncomfortable. Yeah. So this is something we have to build to. Okay, this doesn't just happen. And you can start by, for example, you take a bath and you give yourself a timer for 10 minutes to just be in the bath. And you probably will hate it. But that's the point. You're trying to do nothing for 10 minutes. Meditation is a good practice as well. And again, you start 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just this, like nothing else, you're just sitting. Another practice can be you take a cup of coffee or a tea, and while you drink this, you don't do anything else. It's more about stepping away from multitasking and single tasking instead, which will allow for our body, for the nervous system to get used to being relaxed. Because when we are not relaxed, when the body is tense, being relaxed is uncomfortable. It just feels kind of like something is off in the body. So you have to actually build into this. And this usually it can take some time. Now, another way, and this is what I actually prefer doing, is if you're in this kind of intense way of living, then look for a different entry point into your feminine energy. So for example, one of the ways how we can connect to the body, which is essentially what femininity is about, is through dancing. So imagine if you're kind of used to being tense and doing a lot, then go dancing, right? So you're not relaxing. You don't have to relax, but you're doing something that is still using the intensity of the experience, but it's not masculine in nature, it's feminine in nature.
Perfect.
Right? So you start doing things that feel really good, but they don't necessarily require you to be in that relaxed state. And that can be also an entry point to the full expression of the feminine energy when eventually also learn to relax. Because let's say if I go out dancing, I am actually allowing myself pleasure, right? I'm opening myself for pleasure, for something that feels good. And again, through that kind of little hack, I'm opening myself also more to receive until I finally open myself and go into this more relaxed state where I can receive my partner as well.
Absolutely wonderful. So if we wrap this episode up, can you give me a quick summary of everything we discussed and answer the question once more? Why do I need to focus on my intimacy for my business?
So I would say intimacy is a gift. For me, intimacy is what life is about. And so if you don't focus on it, it's like you're literally not focusing on being alive. you're wasting life when you don't focus on intimacy. Like all the good things in life, it's connected to intimacy. Why wouldn't you want some of that?
Mm-hmm.
And that is also true for business. By focusing on your intimacy, you're turning your business into another source of pleasure. It's not hard work anymore. It's not hustle. It's fun. This is what for me intimacy is. It's like those spices that makes everything taste better. It makes your life taste better.
Absolutely lovely. I love that. On that note, we're going to wrap up. So, Magda, tell us, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you on the internet?
So you can go to magdakay.com. This is my website where you can find more information about anything that I offer and some free resources as well. Find me on YouTube. It's Magda Kay. I post there every week, and also Instagram. These are like two places where I like to hang out daily. So if you want to connect with me and just like, if you like free things, then you're going to find a lot of it on these two platforms.
Absolutely wonderful. So if you are listening us on the podcast, then the links for Magda would be on the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we'll have the links for Magda too. Go check her out, see how she can help you rebuild your inner connection, rebuild your intimacy with yourself and with your partner. Well, thank you so much for being such an amazing guest, Magda. We have to have you back another time, but today, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for listening to me and Magda today on Wednesday Money Talkies. I will be back with another amazing guest, finding out how you and I can build a better business. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.